Syrian refugees fleeing war only to struggle to survive through a harsh winter. Over the past few months in Lebanon, relief organizations like UNICEF passed out hundreds of thousands of winter survival kits. Now, they contained essential winter clothing like hats, gloves, and waterproof boots. The winter in Lebanon is the coldest in several years, with a series of severe snowstorms. The weather is warming up a bit now, but temperatures are still dropping to about 5 degrees Celsius at night. Lebanon is just one of several neighboring countries trying to keep up with the flow of Syrian refugees. Consider this: in December 2011, there were about 8,000 people registered as Syrian refugees. Today, there are 3.7 million. More than half of them are in Turkey and Lebanon, but there is a push underway for more countries to help. And the hope is they won't just take them as temporary refugees, but instead will allow them to resettle. Just 26 countries have a program to resettle refugees. The leader is the United States, but when it comes to Syrian refugees, it's only taken in about 500. President Barack Obama wants to change that, but there are concerns about whether some refugees from Syria could actually be terrorists. CCTV's Jessica Stone has insight.
After 4 years of bloody civil war, more than half of the Syrian people have left their homes. While most have moved to other parts of Syria, nearly 4 million live in neighboring nations in refugee camps. They may have escaped the daily shelling, but conditions, especially in places like Lebanon, can be quite harsh. Daryl Grisgraber knows. She just returned from the region.
It's a tough life for sure, and I think getting tougher as time wears on because there's less and less funding for their assistance all the time.
But for some, there will never be a homecoming, even to the rubble left behind. They have incurable medical conditions or face too much danger and persecution in Syria and must apply for refugee resettlement in a foreign land. So far, the U.S. has only permanently resettled about 500 Syrian refugees, but they want to increase that to as many as 2,000 by the end of 2015 and many more thousand by the end of 2016.
Yeah, they are coming.
They are?
Yeah.
You saw them first? You saw them?
Yeah. He has like stripes here.
Grisgraber hopes scenes like this one in a Kentucky airport will become even more common in the future.
So in the sense that it's protecting people who really need it, that's a good decision. And the United States has a history of taking in people who need help, so it's certainly something we want to continue with the Syrians as well.
But the chairman of the U.S. Homeland Security Committee and other U.S. intelligence officials are raising alarm bells, suggesting that fighters from the Islamic terror group ISIL could infiltrate the U.S. by posing as approved Syrian refugees or radicalize them to attack within the United States.
I think this would be a huge mistake if we bring in these refugees into the United States that could potentially be radicalized.
But the U.S. State Department says the screening process is rigorous, involving multiple law enforcement and intelligence agencies and using every database the nation has.
Refugees are the most carefully vetted of all travelers to the United States. Every refugee under consideration for admission to the United States undergoes the same intensive security screening involving multiple federal intelligence, security, and law enforcement agencies.
U.S. officials admit back in 2009, 2 Iraqi war refugees accepted into the United States were later connected to a bombing in Iraq. The FBI says as a result, the vetting system was tightened. Grisgraber, however, worries that if the U.S. limits its refugee resettlement policy, other nations will follow suit.
It's actually a rather small number of countries that accept resettled refugees overall. Not every single country does it, and so we really need the ones that are willing to do it to step up and be taking people.
Jessica Stone, CCTV, Washington.